What is your food story? Okay, think about it like this, right? If it were your last supper, what would be on the menu? What are the ingredients that would definitely make it, and what are the ingredients that definitely wouldn't? I'm going to give you all 3 seconds to really think about it because it's important. Go. Okay, you have it, an idea of it, some sort of menu, right? And it's okay if you don't or you sort of, but what's important is that what does your menu say about you? I want to share my food story because I think it will help you understand or maybe rediscover or reignite your own food story. My last supper would look like a farm-to-table dinner made with 95% local ingredients. It would have corn that was probably harvested an hour before it was roasted, and it would have local fruit dipped in Trinidad chocolate, and local melons of almost every color. I've been the co-founder of 4 food businesses for the last 16 years, and our collective motto is, we'll work for food. I mean, of course, we work for money too, but food is obviously the most important part of this. But long before I became an entrepreneur, my food story began with these 2 people. These are my parents. And to give you more insight, they married outside their ethnicity, their religion, and even their taste buds. But their food stories helped impact my own. When I asked my mother what's her favorite food story, she immediately said she loved the smell of dal on a Sunday morning specifically, because that meant she and her 12 siblings would be having dal puri roti, and if they were really, really lucky, a piece of curry chicken. But that smell on a Sunday meant something to her. Now, my father's food story is very different. He was obsessed with having soup on a Saturday, and clearly they like food on a weekend. But he would make this soup every Saturday. And it was only recently my aunt told me a food story about my grandmother, which sort of explained where this obsession came about from. She told me that my grandmother would make Sanko soup every carnival, and it was made with the leftover ham bone from Christmas, so it was really special. But she said what was really special about this soup was that her, my dad, and their 4 other siblings would get to shape the exact dumpling that they wanted in the soup. And my grandmother's important role was to fish out the precise dumpling for the right child. She would call them her dumpling police. I was nourished by a generation of farmers. My grandfather was born in 1910, and he grew sugarcane and rice. He left a parcel of land for each of his 12 kids, including my mother. I believe that parcel of land became the foundation for my brother becoming a farmer today. And he's one of the most passionate farmers you'll meet. I know I'm biased, and he's also here. But seeing his love for agriculture and for animals, it showed me what it took to not just grow food, but grow food for other people. In 2010, my brother was growing the most beautiful colored sweet peppers to help substitute imported ones. He was using sustainable methods like growing shadow benny or culantro around his farm, and that will help him reduce how much pesticides he had to use. But when I saw my brother go to sell his produce on the municipal markets, he was at the mercy of market fluctuations and somebody who probably never grew food before deciding the value of what he did. When we would go to the grocery store and I would see those same foods sold 400% more, I wondered how could the person who is doing the most work get the least reward. I decided after I heard a United Nations speech on food security to pursue my degree in international relations. And you know how life goes. I got a degree, but no job at the UN. But it found me growing roots in something very unlikely: entrepreneurship. Now, this part of my food story is when I became an entrepreneur, and I would call it catch of the day, and you'll understand why. Now that I had no job, I had more time on my hand, and it would take a chance encounter with someone I met when I was 17 years old, someone who is now my most trusted business partner and my best friend, even if he denies it. This guy, David. So before I started college, I worked at a night shift job in the bank. And yes, you can work in the bank at night. There I met David. David was from Las Cuevas, a tiny fishing village in the north coast of Trinidad. And David was that guy who would bring fresh fish for our coworkers. And pretty soon, I was drawn to what he was doing. I started adding fresh herbs and went with him on those long drives to Las Cuevas to pick up the catch of the day. And we realized that we were more excited about doing that than working in the bank. This is David and I on one of our first deliveries in 2009, delivering fresh produce to our customers. Today, we are still doing it, 16 years later. We're selling local food to customers all across Trinidad. And we were told that Trinidadians, Caribbean people, would never buy food on the internet. 16 years later, we have now sold over £1 million, and I think it's even more, of local food on that same internet. We went from just 10 customers who were all related to us to over 10,000 online shoppers. We went from 10 deliveries that David and I had to do ourselves to over 500,000 deliveries made to date. Luckily, we didn't have to do those. Our online store services persons here and across the diaspora, and they get to send a piece of their family food story back home to their loved ones. We've built a team of passionate people and support a network of over 300 local farmers to support our local food systems. And during the pandemic, our company became a lifeline to those in need. There aren't a lot of places you could buy a breadfruit on the internet in the Caribbean, but this is one of them. This part of my food story I would call What is a Smoothie? And this is where we started our third food business. It was an online customer who called us and said sadly that her husband was diagnosed with cancer. And her doctor said that she needed to make healthy smoothies for him. Now, after David and I Googled what a smoothie was, we realized that she needed frozen fruits to make those smoothies. And we became farm to freezer. We believe in investing in local food, local agriculture to take us to that next level. And to date, we have sold and composted hundreds of tons of local fruit that would normally go wasted to help our customers that day and many others like her after. I believe the foods that grow where you live, that nourish you when you were young, that lives under the same sun in this exact space, I believe that the foods that drank the same water you drink every season, these foods are made for us. How is it that we can get frozen blueberries all year, but we can't get our indigenous fruits available all year? And if you need any convincing, guava actually has 25 times the vitamin C than blueberries. We are here to preserve our Caribbean way of life. I believe I was planted in the Caribbean for a very significant reason. Because in the Caribbean, variety is endless. Across the world, there are over 1,000 varieties of bananas, yet the world consumes mostly one or two. Imagine how different your Caribbean food story would be if you ate a silk fig or a Grammy shell banana or a green fig instead. We have it right here. Why do we look elsewhere? Now, this last part of my food story would be called Coffee, No Milk, and Lots of Sugar, because I believe this is one of the sweetest parts of my food story so far. Now, what I didn't share before was that my now husband is who designed our branding and our packaging for our fruit brand. And it would be a chance encounter at a food event when I met him that we began the beginnings of our fourth food business together. I convinced him to leave a secure job in advertising for 15 years to start a food design company with us. Once we launched our frozen fruit brand, pretty soon other food businesses were coming to us for help. One of the first food companies that ever came to us was a 100-year-old coffee roastery, looking to redesign or reimagine their packaging for the next generation of coffee drinkers. To date, we've been able to help hundreds of Caribbean food brands all across the region with their branding, marketability, and just look good. Now, for food, chefs play an important role in deciding what our Caribbean food story would taste like. It is only when we co-founded our monthly farm-to-table dinners, our second food business, that we met Chef Sonia Sinistri, and I realized just how powerful chefs can be. Sonia had a way of making local ingredients just shine. She would retain all the nutritional integrity, I think, but less processing, but it still tasted amazing. And her impact has influenced other chefs that we've worked with, and now you get to see Caribbean chefs including way more local ingredients into their process. Now, I've seen chefs do some pretty crazy things. There was a time we had an event and a chef wanted purple cabbage. Now, most of our purple cabbage is imported. This chef took sorrel, hibiscus petals, and used it to infuse color into green cabbage. Another time, a chef asked us for our wasted papaya seeds because she wanted to create a 100% locally made dish. She dehydrated those papaya seeds and ground it just like black pepper and used it to season our meals. Those things really blew my mind. And remember how my dream was to work in the United Nations, FAO, and international organizations? I actually do that now because I continue to tell my food story. I'm able to help other Caribbean food brands just like me and have a voice there. Now, this is on you. If you eat, you're involved in agriculture. Let's reimagine what our Caribbean food story would look like if you chose more local. I have 3 pieces of advice. Be more adventurous when you eat. Try something new, something different. 2, seek out variety. We have so much variety here. More than just a potato. There's sweet potato, dasheen, yam, cassava. And lastly, rekindle that love with local food. Telling my food story helped me discover my own story and my own purpose. And I hope that you will uncover your own story, hopefully nourished and fueled by local meals that matter most to you.